In 8.3, we're going to add and subtract rational expressions when we have common denominators. So just like when doing fractions, we have to have the denominators the same as each other before we can add and subtract them. Everything in this section will already be like that. The only difference now between this and normal fractions is after we do the addition and subtraction, then we factor both the numerator and the denominator if we can, and then we simplify. So that's the important thing here, is that we will have to simplify everything. So the first one I'm going to do is x plus y over 10 plus x plus y over 10. So they both have 10 in the denominator, so we're going to keep the denominator and we're going to add x plus y plus x plus y. And we're going to do this just like we did before when we were adding and subtracting polynomials. So x plus x is 2x, y plus y is plus 2y. And now we can factor out a 2 from the numerator. So we factor out the 2, and what we have left is x plus y, and that's all over 10. And we can simplify the 2 and the 10 by dividing both by 2. So in the top, we have x plus y, and in the bottom, we have 5 left. So that's what we're going to be doing on these. Let's do another one here. X over x squared minus y squared plus y over x squared minus y squared. So I already have common denominators, so now I just need to add the numerators, and I'm left with x plus y over x squared minus y squared. And now note that in the denominator, it's a difference of 2 squares. Also, note that I didn't factor anything before I started. In this section, you don't need to do that. Just add the numerators or subtract the numerators like we'll do in a minute, and then factor everything. So on the top, and just like before in the previous section, I'm going to put the binomial in parentheses, and this is a difference of 2 squares, so it's x plus y, x minus y. Now I can cancel the x plus y's. I'm left with 1 on top, so it's 1 over x minus y. And if you're not using Math Quill, you'll probably need to put a parentheses around the 1 as well. So next, let's say we have 3x squared minus 32x over 3x minus 1 plus 7x plus 8 over 3x minus 1. So I'm going to add the numerators because I already have the same denominators, and the only terms that can be added are the 32x and the 7x. So I'm going to have 32x squared minus 25x plus 8 over 3x minus 1. And again, put the 3x minus 1, the binomial, in parentheses so you know it is all together. So now we're going to do like we did in the previous section. We need to factor the top and see if anything will cancel. And we see that we have a 3 here in front of the x squared, and we have a 3x here. So I'm going to assume that 3x minus 1 is one of the factors here. Now if we have another factor, we know that this other one is just going to be x, because 3x times x is 3x squared. We know that we're going to have 2 minus signs because we have a plus here and a minus here, so this is going to be minus, and 1 will go into 8 times. So just to check ourselves, we have 3x times x, which is 3x squared. 3x times negative 8 is negative 24. Negative x times negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 24x minus x is 25x. And negative 1 times negative 8 is 8. So we have that right. And now we can cancel the 3x minus 1s, and all we're left with is x minus 8. Now that shortcut that I did here, if you just want to factor this like normal, you can do that. Just remember that in these sections, you're being taught to cancel things. So you can make the assumption that you'll be able to cancel something. So next, let's do one that's a subtraction. X squared plus 14x over x minus 3 minus 14x plus 9 over x minus 3. Now on these, this is where I also recommend that you put parentheses around everything in the second numerator because it's a minus. And I'm going to write this with an extra step. I'm going to put x squared plus 14x minus, in parentheses, 14x plus 9 all over x minus 3. This is to show that you have to distribute this minus sign of everything that's in the original numerator. So you don't have to show this step if you just change the sign of every single term in the numerator of what is being subtracted. So now I'm going to do that part. I'm going to have x squared plus 14x. This 14x becomes minus 14x. This plus 9 becomes minus 9 all over x minus 3. I'm going to go ahead and put that part in parentheses now. And now I'm going to combine like terms. We have a 14x minus 14x. So that becomes 0. So I'm going to be left with x squared minus 9 over x minus 3. X squared minus 9 is a difference of two squares, which is x plus 3, x minus 3, all over x minus 3. The x minus 3's will cancel, and I'm left with x plus 3 as the answer. So another subtraction, say we have 6x squared minus x plus 2 over x squared minus 2 minus 3x squared minus 8 plus minus x. Let me change this. Minus x plus 8 all over x squared minus 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is put parentheses around the second numerator that's being subtracted. And I'm going to have 6x squared minus x plus 2. And I'm going to do this all in one step. It was a 3x squared, so it becomes minus 3x squared. It was minus x, so it becomes plus x. And it was plus 8, so it becomes minus 8. And it's all over x squared minus 2. So now I'm going to combine like terms on the top. I have a 6x squared minus 3x squared, which becomes 3x squared. I have a minus x and a plus x, which becomes 0. And I have a plus 2 and a minus 8, which becomes minus 6. And that's all over x squared minus 2. Now on the top, I can factor out a 3. 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. Minus 6 divided by 3 is minus 2. And that's all over the x squared minus 2. I can't do any factoring there. And I put the x squared minus 2, the binomial, in parentheses. So now I see I have an x squared minus 2 on top, x squared minus 2 on bottom. Those will cancel. And all I'm left with is 3. So that's how you're going to do all of these. Just remember, after you do the addition and subtraction, factor both the numerator and the denominator if you can. Some of them you'll be able to factor both. Some of them you'll be able to factor only one. Some of them you might not be able to factor anything. But then after you factor, remember, after you factor, then you simplify. Don't ever simplify anything until after you factor, if you can. And always put parentheses around any binomial to know that that's all together. Don't just simplify one part of a binomial. It has to be the entire binomial, or just a single factor. Like here, there was a 3. We couldn't do anything with that. But on that first one, we had the 2 times x plus y over 10. We were able to factor just the single factors. You can do any of those as long as they're a factor and they're not added or subtracted with anything. If you are adding and subtracting, like here, the binomial, put them in parentheses before you do any kind of simplifying.